What's up guys, Michael here, back with another video. And I know it's been a really long time since I last made a video on my channel, but today I have more of an exciting unboxing for you guys. This is of course the Galaxy S20 that I'm going to unbox, and I think this is the first time that I've actually featured a cell phone unboxing on my channel, so hopefully you guys will be able to learn something from this video. Now I want to make it clear that this is not actually a phone for myself. I will not be the end user of this device. What happened was I got two S20s, and the other S20 I've been using for the past week. So while this will be an unboxing of a brand new S20, I will be sharing with you my thoughts on my first week with the Galaxy S20. Before the video starts, I know I'm a little late to the unboxing game of the S20 because this phone came out 8 or 9 months ago, back in March or April of this year, I believe. So I'm a little late to the unboxing game, but I'll explain why later in the video. Okay, so looking around the box, we have the S20 device shaped embossed, and of course this is the 5G variant of the S20. There's no longer a 4G variant of the phone. On the sides, we have S20 printed here, and we have the S20 itself, the wall charger, sound by AKG, which is great. I will be testing that out later in the video. All right. So right off the bat, I'm noticing there's no plastic cover outside of the box. I'm not sure if that was intentional or if that's just the way I got it. Flips up. All right, here we go. So we have the device itself, very fresh. Let's start with this. I don't know what's in here. I'm not sure why I decided to do it like this. It seems a little odd, but here we have. So we have the ejector here. And you have the quick start guide here. This slide, we don't need it. Alright, here's the device itself. Now the color I have is the Cosmic Gray, which is I think one of the more natural colors for the phone. There are more extravagant colors. We'll get into that later. Flipping this over. Okay, here we go. So we have this super fast charging brick from Samsung. I believe this is a 25 watt brick. I don't know if it says on there, but I believe this is 25 watts. Now this phone does support up to 45 watts of fast charging, but you would have to get a separate brick for that, if I'm not wrong. And then here we have the Type-C to Type-C wall charger. That's great to see. Side. And finally we have the AKG headphones. Now I want to make it clear on the headphones that I've actually been using these for the past couple of days, and they've actually been really good. Because these are co-developed with Samsung, Samsung owns AKG, the company. There are a lot of customization features in the phone itself, and you'll be able to discover that in the settings app. The headphones are really nice because one, they have the braided cord, and because they actually come with extra ear tips in the box itself. So these are the medium-sized ear tips that they have on right now. These are small and large for a better fit into your ears. Alright, moving the device on. So while I insert my SIM card, you'll actually notice that this is the, I believe this is the dual SIM model of the device, which is the Canadian model, and it is a dual SIM because you're able to have a SIM card here and you're able to have an SD card. I believe this has SD expansion up to 1 terabytes, which is amazing if you think about it. And I believe you have one more slot for the another SIM card. Let's quickly peel off the back here. This is probably the best part of an unboxing. Can you hear that? Oh, very nice. So again, while the phone is booting up, I just want to make some comments on the overall shape of this phone. Now, as a flagship phone that used to cost, I think, around 1,200 or 1,300 Canadian dollars, I think the design of it is a little understated, for my opinion. I mean, if you look at an iPhone, the latest iPhone 12 or the 11 even, there's a lot of design characteristics that make it an iPhone that when people look at, even on certain Android phones, that they will know it's a flagship Android phone. And for a phone that costs over $1,000, I think it's a little understated for me. And looking around the phone here, we have the Type-C charging dock, a microphone. We have the stereo speakers that I'll actually mention later in the video. We have the camera cutout up here. We have the SIM slot here and another microphone here, and of course we have 3 camera array back here. Now I want to talk a little bit about the cameras actually. So this phone has 3 different camera setups. One is the main lens, which I believe is going to be this one here. This is going to be your ultra wide lens, and then this is going to be your zoom lens. So I believe these two are 12 megapixels and this is 64 megapixels. So while we get into setting up the phone, we have the option to protect our phone with a password or PIN or even facial recognition. Now because I'm an iPhone user on the XS Max, I prefer facial recognition. but I believe the facial recognition on this is only a pictorial representation of your face, so it's actually not as secure as a regular fingerprint. So I will be using the fingerprint option on this phone instead. Okay, there we go, and now we're into the phone. So right off the bat, here is the cutout for the little camera, and the screen is actually really nice on this phone. Now it's a 6.2-inch OLED screen. If we're going to settings here, you can see the default out of the box is going to be an FHD+, which is a 1080 resolution for the phone. Now you can bump up to 1440p, which is what I would usually do on any phone I use. But the only problem with that is, if you bump it up to 1440p, you are unable to use the 120Hz screen motion, which I think on a phone like this, I've actually never experienced 120Hz, so that is something I'm going to turn on right away without even thinking about it. But if you're someone who if you're someone who consumes a lot of YouTube content or do a lot of reading on your phone, I prefer the 1440p just because it has the higher resolution. But like I said, for me, I'm going with the full 120Hz at 1080. Now, one of the things on this device is that you can choose to have the Android buttons with the home and the back on the phone, or you can go into the menu here and choose what's called full screen gestures, and that's what allows you to have almost a natural, just like on the iPhone gestures. I would prefer for myself the full screen use of the gestures because that just gives me more real estate on the screen, but it all depends for the user. So if you play a video real quick, this is an 8K video on YouTube, and if I can bump up the resolution. So like I said, this goes back to my point earlier. This only supports 1080p in 120Hz, but if we just play the video here, I mean, you can see it's a very great screen. If we zoom out, it's going to be like that. So because this is an OLED, you can't really see the notch or the camera cutout once you expand out that view. We'll crank the speakers up. Yeah. Yeah, there's not much to say about Samsung screens because Samsung is one of the biggest screen manufacturers in the world. I think LG comes in second. Now Samsung does make their own TVs and other technology that makes use of their great screens, and there's really no complaining about Samsung screens. I mean, even Apple iPhones have Samsung screens, and obviously Samsung is going to keep the best screen for themselves on their own phones, and there's nothing I can really complain about the screen. It's got great colors. If I go into display here, it's going to be vivid right out of the box, but of course you can tune that with the white balance and all of that, or you can go with a natural if you prefer a more consistent look, but I prefer the vivid just because it gives me the popping colors of that OLED and utilizes the full potentialness of the screen. And another thing I wanted to mention about the speakers on this, now these are of course stereo speakers. There's one speaker on the bottom here, and there is another one, there's an actual speaker embedded in the top here. And when I'm watching a YouTube video with surround sound, it really enhances the fact that it's there, and the overall speaker quality is actually very good. Sometimes I have loudspeakers or external speakers that I use just for music, and sometimes when I don't want to use those, I just crank the volume on the phone itself and I just use the phone as a listening device, which I think is very convenient, not only convenient, but it's also a statement as to how well the speakers are on this device. So just looking around the settings here, I wanted to mention about the software on the phone. So obviously this is running on Android 10 with the Samsung skin on top of the Android 10, and what Samsung's calling it is One UI. And for overall usage, I think it's okay. One of the things I don't really like about it is a lot of the settings, for example, you have to dig through a lot of menus to get to a certain setting. But I think that's apparent on a lot of phones, like LG phones, for example. That's probably even worse in that area. But again, it's something to keep in mind because this is a flagship phone that many users are going to want to customize for themselves. Now, next thing I want to jump in is actually the cameras. I'm not actually very used to this camera system. It looks very similar to abundance of other camera systems, but what happens if you want to take a photo, if you go into settings here, you see the option for the rear video size to go all the way up to 8K. I don't usually recommend stepping up to the 8K just because of the crop it gives you, as well as the fact that throughout my personal experience, I found that 4K 60, right here UHD at 60 frames per second, actually shows more detail than the 8K because 8K technology hasn't really stepped down to the cell phone level yet or the smartphone level yet. So if you want to take a lot of photo or video on this device, I recommend using the regular 4K option. And for the front camera, you can go all the way up to 60 frames at 4K in 16:9 aspect ratio for the front, which is very well. And both of these cameras are stabilized. So every camera on the back here are stabilized, as well as the front camera. And you can turn on what's called super steady mode. Now, I haven't used this mode actually, but I've seen videos of it online, and it appears to be very stable. I think more stable than what an iPhone is capable of. Now, as we all know, iPhone videography has always been sort of the best in the smartphone game. So I would agree with that. Even on the S20, I found the video to be a little bit shaky at times without turning the super steady on, and I felt that the colors weren't as good. Now, speaking of the colors, Samsung has their own way with color correction when taking videos or when taking pictures on the phone. So if you want the photos to seem more real life and more realistic, I definitely recommend getting an iPhone. But if you want the shots to just look very consistent and look very nice and pretty with the colors, then Samsung is the way to go for sure. So with all that being said, I want to sort of wrap up the video going back to a point I made earlier in the video about why I'm reviewing this phone now and unboxing this phone now 8 months down the road instead of when it came out. So when the phone came out, I believe the price was around 1300 or 1400 Canadian dollars pre-tax. Now you can get one for around 700 or 800 Canadian. Now $700 or $800 is a little bit of a different story, because suddenly you're getting a flagship phone for close to a price that you would pay for a budget Android smartphone. Now, when it comes to a smartphone, I think there are really three main pillars that you look at. Number one is going to be connectivity. So this has 5G, so it ticks that box, right? Even if this was a 4G phone, I think for the $700 or $800, it'd be a great option, right? The next thing I look at would be the overall hardware of the phone. So that includes the speakers, the screen, the overall build quality. Now this one is going to be glass, right? Two sides are glass, and then this side is a metal build. I'm not sure this is stainless steel, but it's probably a little bit marked down from stainless steel, but again, this is definitely metal. So it's definitely got quality construction to the device itself. And then the third thing I'll look at is the how the phone runs, right? The software, how in this case One UI runs on this phone, and how Android would run. For me, I think One UI works well, and if I don't like it, I can always swap it out with Nova Launcher or Google Launcher or anything that I would personally want to see, and all the icons I can swap out with whatever I want to see. So overall, would I recommend this phone? I know this is not is it worth it kind of video, but yeah, if you can pick up this phone for half of what it retailed for, I think number one, that's a great price discount you're getting, and number two, it's a solid phone to get. But overall, thank you for watching. If you do decide to pick up in Samsung S20, hey, let me know what color you get. So let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.